Hi, my name's Steve Smith. I'm a ranger for South Ribble Borough Council and Preston City Council. Today I'm going to be showing you how to help our little feathered friends like the one that's just flown across there and make a bird box. So first start for making a bird box, some timber, surprise surprise. This is a piece of rough sawn, 1.5 meters. In old money it's called 6 by 1 inch. In new money it's called 15 centimetres by 2.5 centimetres. First, once you've got your piece of wood, then you need to find yourself a tape measure and start marking out. Lay it down. Always remember health and safety. Be nice and sensible and nice and safe while you're doing your work. So the first measurement that we're going to need to do is 20 centimetres down one side, followed by a 25 centimetres. You'll see why we pick such cunning measurements when I do the cutting out in a moment. On the other side, mark out to 25 centimetres and then 20 centimetres. Once you've done your measuring out, your piece of wood will look something like this. Right, next job. After you've marked out, we need to do some cutting. Keeping to your straight line, you can manage to cut at a slight angle. That will mean your roof and the front of your box will fit nice and snugly together. And you won't have a big windy gap. It's going to give your chicks a nasty cold. You can just see that angle on there. You just see that angle. I've only cut it by hand. As you see, when we're putting the box together later, it makes the job a lot easier. Every other cut is a straightforward up and down. Once you've got all your initial cutting all sorted out and nice and prepped like this, then it's time to start nailing together. I recommend that when you start off with your back plate, which is the big long one, that you put a marker at the bottom, because otherwise you can end up with a wonky box. Now we get a little bit of a juggling act as we line up. And start doing a bit of bashing. Now, in my experience, it's handy if you use your other side plate. There's a little bit of a brace there while you're doing this section. Don't forget, keep your thumbs out of the way of the hammer and let the hammer do the work. Instead of swinging the hammer with all might, with using as much force as you can, all you have to do with the hammer is lift it up and let the weight of the head do the work. And if any of you are gardeners, one of the very nice things about building a box for a blue tit or a great tit or a sparrow for that matter is that they will eat loads of caterpillars if they decide to have little ones in your garden. And if any of you are gardeners, one of the very nice things about building a box for a blue tit or a great tit or a sparrow for that matter is that they will eat loads of caterpillars if they decide to have little ones in your garden. So I tend to find that the easiest method is to put your two sides on first. Already, you can see, taking shape. My next piece of choice is the bottom. If you were making a back box, which is a very, very similar plan to this one, all you need to do is take a little edge off that one there and leave a gap there, because you'd be surprised that our commonest bat, a little pipistrelle, only weighs about the same as a 10p piece. Very, very tiny little insect. Very tiny little mammal. That again eats about 2,500 insects a night. So if you like a midge-free garden, Also worth putting up a bat box as well. So on any of the Wildlife Trust websites, the RSPB or the BTO, which is the British Trust for Ornithology, there are all sorts of plans and designs for nest boxes. For everything from blue tip boxes to sparrow boxes to bat boxes to bug boxes. If you've got a great big garden or a fantastic open space, you can even make yourself boxes for barn owls, kestrels, tawny owls, all improving habitat. And great for getting your kids into a bit of wildlife watching. Look at that, already a couple of minutes work, bit of sewing, and you can already see how that's working out. Now regarding the tops, because we don't want poor mum blue tip and her little ones getting soaking wet through, I tend to use either a piece of plastic, piece of rubber, anything that you can recycle out your box, to make a little strip that contacts onto that top one there. Now where we've cut that as well, that's cut a slight edge, so it sits on the top nicely. So with a little bit of plastic, any sort of plastic will do, plastic, rubber, like I say, in a tube from an old bike tyre I've used before now. And a couple of little clout nails. I always imagine that these are called clout nails because you're a lot more likely to clout your fingers putting these in than any other kind. So again, be careful and keep your fingers out of the way. Especially there we go, one completed box. Now the one final little thing that we need to do is to close that lid, because if you don't, certain species, jays, magpies, even grey squirrels that have a liking for eating birds' eggs and baby birds, will be in there and they'll have a way with all the chicks. So there are a couple of ways of fixing it. You can either put a little nail on either side there and put a piece of string or a piece of wire around it, or my chosen method is to knock another nail in just on that corner there, but leaving it with a couple of millimetres sticking out so that you can just, when you're emptying your box out in spring, knock it open like that. Look at that. One new desirable residence for anything from a blue tip, great tip, sparrow, you name it. You might even get your little robin in there if you're looking. This one, a very similar basis, only we've taken the front off there, as you can see. Ideal for birds like robins. Use the ones with the holes on there are often used by tits. If you make a larger hole, also commonly used by sparrows. The one thing I would say about boxes is when you are sighting them, be careful. Firstly, from your own health and safety point of view, make sure if you're using a ladder it's the appropriate one and you've got somebody footing it for you. And also as well, make sure that your boxes, if they're not in a shady area, please make sure they're facing northeast, between north and east anyway, because otherwise those poor little chicks and those poor little eggs are going to barbecue in the box in a full south sun. So happy bird box making, folks, and I hope you get some customers. All right.